morning show where we're talking about the power of open. How open educational resources, OER, can transform education for the 21st century. To do that, we are joined by distinguished open, or rather, we'll have distinguished open lectures by Professor Rory McGreal on Thursday, 11th of January. He's part of the UE Teaching and Learning Complex, or rather, it's happening at the UE Teaching and Learning Complex at 6 o'clock. And joining us as well is Dr. LeRoy Hill, the Director at the Center of Excellence in Teaching and Learning for UE St. Augustine, Professor Rory McGreal, Professor in the University in Canada, will also be joining us this morning as we explore this topic extensively, as much as we can, in all of 10 minutes. Now, let's start, firstly, Professor McGreal, by defining what exactly open educational resources are defined as. We have a lot of education systems in Trinidad. How does that tie into things?
Well, open educational resources can best be understood as free textbooks, that students do not have to pay for the textbooks. Universities, colleges, schools don't have to pay for textbooks. However, it's even more modern now because of digital communications. Less and less textbooks are being used, so it's free content that's available online. And along with the free content, free lessons, and it could not just be a textual game or something. It could be a game. It could be a video. It could be a podcast. The key element of it is that it's free. It's free for the student, free for the teacher, and free for the community, and anyone in the world can access them.
Dr. Hill, I know that is simply perfect for anybody in the education sector, but how are we going to inculcate that into us specifically? How does it benefit us?
It benefits us tremendously because education is a human right. And for many, that is not necessarily achieved easily because there are many barriers. And so one of the things we've been doing recently at the UE St. Augustine campus is to build capacity, awareness around the need for us to be aligned into our mission, which is one of the things is to transfer and create knowledge. But make that open. And I'm really happy that Professor Rory McGreal has agreed because he is facilitating one of the workshops in open education resources that we are hosting on behalf, well, sponsored by the Commonwealth of Learning. And in November, we had a session on capacity building, and now he's helping us with the policy. So sooner or later, we'll be stronger to be able to implement and give a little bit more on that. I know I could say more, but I'll hush for now.
But that's a lot being said now all the same, because we have seen the footwork, we're seeing a little bit of motion now, and eventually that implementation will make big impact. Now, when we talk about impact, Professor McGreal, could you tell me a little bit of what that looks like, having explored that before, what we can see in terms of the actual derived benefits from that implementation that you all plan to do?
Yeah, and I'd like to start off by saying that they are at the University of the West Indies, you are already implementing open educational resources, so we don't have to wait to do that. But with the policies that we're developing, it'll become stronger and a bigger impetus for us to do that. And it not only, and I emphasize the free nature of open educational resources, but I would also emphasize that they're free to copy, free to adapt, free to adopt. We can take them from another country, adopt them to the conditions in Trinidad or whichever country that does it. We can change them. And in the digital world, this is really important because you cannot do this with commercial content. So if you get content from a publisher, there are so many restrictions on it that even within one country, it's very difficult for you to use it online in different ways. And if you look at more than one country, it becomes impossible because you need to have a copyright agreement for each jurisdiction.
Right.
And so open educational resources allow you freely to use the material however the teachers want to, however the learner wants to. Not just students, but learners anywhere can take advantage of them.
Now, I'm going to stop you before you give away the entire presentation that you're about to deliver. But can you give us a little bit of insight as to what we can be looking forward to in terms of not just his presentation, but that of others, and the day altogether come January 11th?
Well, January 11th, well, let me just go back. Professor Rory is this distinguished speaker. And I'm really honored that the committee has agreed to host him, because while he's here doing the workshop, we felt of having him here do that. And so it's really honored. I'm excited because I know Rory is going to be talking about so many things about open education. We are particularly interested in the intersection between AI and OER, and I'm looking forward. I don't want to give too much, but persons are willing to explore that. And so we really want to encourage persons to come out. This is a public lecture, and the really goal is to really invite persons to engage in public discourse and issues that are local as well as regional. And I am certain that persons who, when they come, they'll have more questions, and Professor McGreal is open to address those questions. Again, he is the UNESCO chair, which is a really great privilege for us here at this time to have him here in Trinidad and Tobago to be representing open education.
Sounds exactly like that. What we hope is the beginning of a discussion that will continue.
That will continue.
Because we understand that, yes, it's already existing, but the maximization is what we're looking forward to. And you mentioned that it is open to the public, so not just academics or participants, or students of the university, but anyone.
Anyone can attend.
Beautiful.
Anyone can attend.
Does that mean that we will actually use digital technology to make it accessible for persons online as well, or must we only be there physically?
Well, it's being recorded. It's being recorded. It's not being streamed, but it's being recorded. So persons are welcome to, we will be playing it on UWTV and other platforms that we have. And I'm sure that we will perhaps find opportunities to share it. And
on TTT?
On TTT.
Fingers crossed. I like that energy.
Fingers crossed. We could certainly see that happening. Because the goal here is to really create awareness, deepen awareness on the whole idea of open education. It is the power that it has to transform education in the 21st century.
Now, Professor, you have done these sorts of lectures, you've had these conversations through the length and breadth of your career. I'd like to ask, what do you think will be the biggest impact that we will see specific to the Caribbean? You talked about the fact that we are no longer worried about copyright and those sorts of restrictions. So I imagine there being quite a few benefits to be derived. Could you give me perhaps the one that is closest to your heart? What makes you most passionate about it?
Well, what makes me the most passionate is that teachers and learners, not just students, but anyone who wants to learn, will have full access to all kinds of learning materials, from health all the way to the trades, to humanities, social sciences, and that all of these will be freely available to anyone in the Caribbean or anywhere in the world that wishes to do that. And the Caribbean can participate in it, and they can put their open educational resources out and make them available to the world as well. So it's that sharing and collaboration that will allow us to go forward with it. And the other point too is to get back to the original point, there are huge savings for governments. Huge savings for students, huge savings for institutions by going this route. A lot of people don't know this, but the commercial educational publishing is the most profitable industry in the world. They make more percentage profit than Google or Microsoft or any of these big companies. The percentages they get from educational publishing are enormous, and this is a way of breaking the hold they have on institutions and on governments.
So technically, Professor McGreal, you're a dangerous man.
Technically.
And this is certainly something worth attending. So could you remind us, in terms of registration, Dr. Hill, those sort of specifics? Where do we go? How do we register? Any costs? What are the prerequisites, if any?
Well, the prerequisites will want you to be there. there and on time at 6 o'clock at the Teaching and Learning Complex. And it's absolutely free. And we really want persons to pre-register so we have an idea of numbers. And you can do your indication by on the SETL's website. You can do so by going to sta.edu and /settle, CETL, and you can click on the distinguished lecture, open lecture, which is held by Professor Rory McGreal, and we are certainly looking forward to a full house because persons are showing quite a number of interest in this, and for rightly so, because persons really want, people like free stuff. Who doesn't like free stuff?
Well, we hope that they will capitalize on this one as it stands to give them so much more enrichment. And so I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Anika, for having us.
Sparking a beautiful conversation and hopefully seeing a beautiful turnout as we get ready to head on down to the UE Teaching and Learning Complex at 6 p.m. on Thursday, the 11th of January, for a distinguished open lecture by Professor Rory McGreal as they discover the power of open, how open educational resources can transform education for the 21st century. Best of luck, gentlemen, and to you, our viewers. Stick around, guys. We've got even more ways to educate you here on the Now Morning Show.
Yes.